Welcome to US Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: is 22 minutes of exercise really enough to combat the risks of sitting too long? Update 1 killed, several injured in explosions in India's southern state. Inside story of the Trump White House by star witness at Capitol riot hearings. DeSantis allies earn big paychecks on the front lines of his culture fights. Why did you do this? Grieving Maine families grapple with unanswered questions after man accused of killing 18 people is found dead. Is 22 minutes of exercise really enough to combat the risks of sitting too long? ABC. Getting just 22 minutes of exercise a day can lower the increased risk of premature death from a sedentary lifestyle for people over 50, according to a study. The research found that those who were sedentary for more than 12 hours a day had the highest risk of death, but this was only the case for those who did less than 22 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily. For those who did more than 22 minutes of exercise, the risk of death became generally similar to those who were sedentary for 8 hours. Update 1 killed, several injured in explosions in India's southern state. Yahoo! At least one person has been killed and several others injured in a series of explosions at a Jehovah's Witnesses convention in the Indian state of Kerala. The incident occurred during a 3-day convention in Kalamassery, near Kochi, which had seen more than 2,000 registrations. Police are investigating the cause of the blasts. Inside story of the Trump White House by star witness at Capitol riot hearings. The Guardian. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to Donald Trump's chief of staff Mark Meadows, has written a book about her experiences working for the former president. The book reveals details of Trump's behavior, including smashing plates and squirting ketchup on the walls. Hutchinson also claims that Meadows illicitly destroyed documents that should have been archived and that Rudy Giuliani made inappropriate advances towards her. Hutchinson eventually became disillusioned with Trump and his supporters and decided to speak out. The book, titled Enough, provides a detailed account of her time working for the former president. DeSantis allies earn big paychecks on the front lines of his culture fights. CNN. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is paying the members of his team generous 6-figure salaries. His state Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo, who is leading DeSantis's campaign against the coronavirus vaccine, is paid around $447,000 a year. The previous Surgeon General earned half that. Cord Byrd, the Secretary of State, makes $188,000 a year, 32% more than the previous holder of the office. The Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. collects $314,000 a year, $38,000 more than the last two people to hold that job. Critics have pointed out that these salaries are at odds with DeSantis's rhetoric about cutting spending. Republicans are supposed to be about small government, no bloat and fiscal responsibility, but this guy likes to pad salaries like nobody's business, said State Senator Jason Pizzo, a Miami Democrat. Why did you do this? Grieving Maine families grapple with unanswered questions after man accused of killing 18 people is found dead. CNN. The body of a man believed to have killed 18 people and injured 13 others in a shooting rampage at a bowling alley and a restaurant in the U.S. state of Maine has been found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Robert Card's body was discovered in a trailer 10 miles from the scene of the shootings. Police found a note he had left for his family, but his motive for the attack is still unknown. Card had recently broken up with a long-term girlfriend and it is believed he may have targeted areas that the couple used to frequent. One of the victims, Joshua Seal, was an American Sign Language interpreter who had been taking part in a cornhole tournament for deaf athletes. His wife, Elizabeth Seal, said she wanted to know why the attacks had taken place and why so many people had been hurt. A recent study by the Gun Violence Archive found that there have been at least 566 mass shootings in the U.S. this year, with 4 or more people shot other than the perpetrator. Joel Klatt releases new top 10 following Week 9. Yahoo! Following Week 9 of the college football season, Fox Sports lead college football analyst Joel Klatt has released his top 10 rankings. The rankings were released after Oklahoma suffered their first loss of the season to Kansas. Notre Dame's 58-7 win over Pitt was not enough to move them into the top 10. Klatt's top team is Ohio State, while Alabama is looking like the team to beat in the SEC West. Predicting the initial college football playoff rankings for 2023. Yahoo! With just a few days to go until the initial rankings are announced, the top 12 teams in the college football rankings will be an interesting one to predict. Amongst the usual suspects, this article predicts that the unbeaten Power 5 teams are likely to hover around the top of the rankings. A Reckoning Review, must-read on Mitt and the Rise of Trump. The Guardian. Mitt Romney, the Republican senator from Utah, is the subject of a new book by McKay Coppins, a journalist who has followed his career closely. Coppins's book, Romney, A Reckoning, examines how the Republican Party has become more extreme, with the rise of Donald Trump as its standard-bearer. The book also looks at Romney's own political career, including his unsuccessful bid for the presidency in 2012. Coppins paints a scathing portrait of many of the leading figures in the Republican Party, including Trump, Newt Gingrich, Ted Cruz, and Chris Christie. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the sixth dimension, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Let's dive into today's headlines. First up, a study suggests that just 22 minutes of exercise a day can counteract the risks of sitting for long periods. So, for all you couch potatoes out there, fear not. A little bit of exercise can go a long way in keeping you healthy and alive. In India's southern state of Kerala, a series of explosions at a Jehovah's Witnesses convention has left one person dead and several injured. Authorities are currently investigating the cause of the blasts. It's a tragic incident that reminds us of the importance of safety and security at public events. Now, let's talk about a tell-all book about former President Donald Trump's White House. Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to Trump's chief of staff Mark Meadows, spills the beans on Trump's eccentric behavior, including plate smashing and ketchup squirting. She also alleges that Meadows destroyed important documents and that Rudy Giuliani made inappropriate advances. It seems like working for Trump was quite the roller coaster ride. Moving on to Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis is making headlines for generously paying his team members six-figure salaries. Critics argue that these salaries contradict DeSantis's claims of cutting spending. It's like he's playing a game of how much can I make it rain with taxpayer money, while touting fiscal responsibility. In a heartbreaking story, a man accused of killing 18 people in a shooting rampage in Maine has been found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The motive behind the attack remains unknown, leaving grieving families with unanswered questions. Gun violence continues to plague the United States, with over 500 mass shootings reported this year alone. On a lighter note, college football analyst Joel Klatt has released his top 10 rankings after Week 9. And no, Notre Dame's blowout win wasn't enough to crack the top 10. Ohio State takes the number 1 spot, while Alabama is dominating the SEC West. Looking ahead to the college football playoff rankings for 2023, it's anyone's guess who will make the top 12. But rest assured, the usual powerhouse teams will likely be in the mix. Get ready for some intense debates and nail-biting moments. Lastly, a new book by McKay Coppins delves into the political career of Republican Senator Mitt Romney and the rise of Donald Trump within the party. It's a must-read for those interested in understanding the dynamics of the Republican Party and the influence of Trump's presidency. That's all for today's news, folks. Remember, it's important to stay active, be cautious at public events, and keep an eye on the world of politics. Now, it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any burning questions or unique perspectives? The floor is yours, my fellow Dimension Hoppers. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.